I want to describe a little bit about this board called the SparkFun Thing, and there's a couple different things or like versions of it, and they're just based on which processor. So basically, it's a development board with a bunch of goodies on it, and I can go through those. So this one is the first thing. It was the esp8266, which, if you're not familiar, is a IoT chip, or it's got Wi-Fi on it, and also quite a bit of processing power for its size, which makes it good for making Internet of Things like switches or whatever, or just you can hook up to internet and like data log into databases or stuff like that. It does have a little bit of extra Spi Ram. I think that this one is 4 megabytes of RAM. They may have changed it at some point. We also have a couple extra chips for doing battery charging, and that's what this is for. It's a little JST connector. If you have a 3.7 volt, it's like a single cell lithium polymer battery, you can hook that up. And because the esp8266 is a 3.3 volt device, unlike a lot of 5 volt microcontrollers, it can run directly off the well, not directly off the battery voltage. All it needs is a little regulator, and that is pretty much it as far as things that are on the board. This one you can connect an external antenna if you want to. SparkFun did a good job on the layout of the board, and I have used this one, and it's nice. So I guess I should say the esp8266. If you've never used it before, the company that makes the chip is called Espressif, and I think that might even be, well, that's their logo on there. And it's kind of a newer thing. Well, I mean, a couple years old now, but they're super cheap. It's like a system on a chip. It has the Wi-Fi processor on there, but then also a microcontroller. It's like a blank slate that you can program it in C or and now, because it's become so popular, people have ported the ability to write Python on this chip. Or let me talk a little bit about its, say, older brother, the esp32 thing. It looks very similar, and they maintained probably, well, I'm sure that the first thing you'll notice, I was going to say they maintained the board layout. It only looks the same, but really everything has changed because the esp32 has so many more I/O pins that they just added a bunch of pins on the side of the board. We still have the extra SPI RAM and battery charging circuit, but you'll notice that there's a couple extra buttons, and that's just for interacting with the esp32. Now this one, I actually leave this one loaded with MicroPython, and you can see on my screen, this is MicroPython 1.9.3, and it's basically a Python interpreter that was ported to the esp32 platform, which means this board is running Python, and you can do stuff like turning LEDs on and off, and even interacting with SD cards and SPI and I2C and all sorts of stuff. So the SparkFun Thing boards are pretty good maker platform. They take care of setting up all their power supply requirements for the chip and getting the USB connection, and also have the battery charging feature, which is kind of fancy. But what you also get is extra documentation, and just the fact that whenever you have a lot of people using the same board, there's a little more community support, and you have SparkFun writing their own libraries for the board and stuff like that, which is always a good thing. So anyway, that's kind of long-winded explanation, but yeah, I guess I would give it my thumbs up. The board, I didn't mention, I believe it costs about $20 for either one of them, because the cost of the ESP32, even though it's such a more powerful chip, isn't that much more than the esp8266. Well, I should also mention that SparkFun has another thing that uses the Atmel samamd51 chip. And, well, what is this chip? It's a ARM architecture. It's a Cortex M4, and it's very powerful. It's capable of USB host, which I think neither the ESP nor Arduino or a lot of chips can't do that. It's got, I think, 512, well, depending on which one you buy, has a different amount of built-in memory. And let's see, yeah, 120 megahertz clock rate. Anyway, this board that I'm holding is a custom board that I made that's actually pretty similar to the SparkFun samamd51 thing. It has, I don't have a battery charging plug, but it does have, this one is the battery charging integrated circuit right here. So you just would have to plug in the pinouts on the bottom bat there. So it'll charge a battery. But yeah, I'm working on getting MicroPython to run on that thing. So, and also $20, which is really cool. And they may have a couple other things. I haven't personally used the samamd51 thing, but the board that I have is pretty similar to it. So compared to the rest of fabricating and soldering and everything else that goes into making a board, it didn't really make a difference. Alright, well, that's about all I have to say on the SparkFun ESP32 thing. Thanks for watching.